Good evening, everybody. Check, check, quick sound check. Can everyone hear me loud and clear? Let's get an audio check. Confirmation that you guys can hear me and see me. Seeing an all good from G Wiz. Let's get a confirmation from Andrew. Good audio and video. Awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Slow Markets. I am Coach Jay filling in for Dakota tonight. Sorry for the little bit of a delay. Some technical issues here in getting the stream started, but happy to be here with you all. How's everyone doing tonight? Any trades at all? You guys looking at any markets that are moving right now? Let us know. I'm doing good. Had a okay trading day today. Losing day in my XFAs. Trying to get long nat gas. If you looked at nat gas, it was one of the biggest movers to the upside. I just got in a little bit too early. Stopped out before the move, but got off the charts. Made some dinner. Came back and ready to see if we have any opportunities presenting themselves to us today. Getting smoked in the Nikkei. So I actually took a trade. I'm up about $500 in this combine. I am going to switch over to my XFA because if we take any trades tonight, I do want to take them over there. But the combine trade that I took was a short in the Nikkei. Didn't catch this whole move, but caught a part of it. Gapped up in the Nasdaq. Yeah, it looks like that the Broadcom earnings was the reason for the price action that we saw in the Nasdaq. Let me switch over to, yeah, there we go. The watch list that we have up on the side over here. Crude last night sold off. I wasn't a part of that move. It just took a little while. I did put the trade on. I ended up taking it off because right before I went to sleep, it was pretty much at my entry. And it felt like a 50-50 trade at the time. Ultimately, it played out, but I was just not, I didn't feel like going to sleep with that position on, especially because it felt like a 50-50. If it looked like something more certain, I probably would have left it, but it wasn't an A+ setup for me. But let's look at it. So we know we had the PPI print come out today. All the inflation data is out. I'll pull up a NASDAQ chart. All the inflation data is out for now. And the next big number that the market is waiting for is FOMC on Friday. Next Wednesday. FOMC next Wednesday. So going into tomorrow, going into Friday, what am I expecting to see out of the markets? It looked like we were going to sell off for a little bit, but if we go out to a daily chart, what we had today was pretty much just a 50% retracement of yesterday's price action. We had this move up on Wednesday, which was yesterday, that was almost 2% up. A lot of times we'll see the market retrace some of that move. It almost did 50% of that move perfectly, and then we can see the gap up that we have right now. We are less than 0.5% away from all-time highs. Not markets that I want to short. If we look at a daily time frame, looking at these moving averages, these are very strong markets right now. We hear everybody talking about the Santa rally. I don't want to be the person to call the highs in these markets, but that doesn't mean that it's a blind buy. I do have to find a spot to buy them where we can limit risk and all that stuff. But if I'm trading the NASDAQ, if I'm trading the equities, if I'm trading the S&P and the NASDAQ, I'm looking to buy it. If I'm trading the equities and we're looking at something like the Dow, it's a different story, right? If I look at the Dow on a 30-minute and I'm looking to short something, this has been a great short over the past week and a half. I know a lot of us default to the NASDAQ, so I'm going to look at the NASDAQ. And if you guys do have any questions, put them in the chat. Andrew's going to take care of them. Send them over to me. Thank you, as always, Andrew, for taking care of that. And I know Nightbot usually sends it, but let me send that also before we get going. And that is the Topstep risk disclosure. Anything we talk about here is for educational purposes only, not a suggestion to take a trade. So, click the button on your own merits at your own will. Establish the risk on any trade that you take, and understand that if I talk about a setup here, I lose trades. So it is not a guarantee. Anything Dakota says, not a guarantee, but we should be focusing on how we get to decisions. Uh, what was the gap up all about this evening? I think Broadcom earnings. So if we look at the close in the Nasdaq, we had this sell off, and then this is Broadcom releasing their earnings. It could be that. I didn't see any news. Let's check the Trader Hub. See if we had anything out. Yeah, I don't see any news here that would have caused that gap up. So maybe that, but I don't know. It's funny because if you ever watched Coach Paul and I on At the Buzzer, anytime someone asks about news, the answer is I don't know. And by the time we figure it out, it's usually too late. There were more buyers and sellers, and that moves the market up. Why were they buying? Could be a bunch of different reasons, but they decided to buy it. The markets go up. And as a day trader, that's all I want to know, right? Are they buying the market, moving it in a specific direction? And can I get a piece of that move? All right. So looking at the Nasdaq here, and we'll do kind of rapid fire. You guys know how I look at charts by now. If you see me on slow markets, I'm going to look at the 30-minute opening range for a bunch of these markets. So here it is on the Nasdaq. We have VWAP looking like it wants to leave the range, but not out of it yet. So if I'm going to trade this, I probably want to be a buyer somewhere around 50% of the range, if not a little bit lower, somewhere lower than that VWAP, which gives me an opportunity to limit risk. But this looks like a decent buy for now. Ideally, I want that VWAP to leave the range to let me know that there are some buyers stepping into this market. And then my target on that would be, pretty much new all-time highs. Might be one I have to hold for a little while, but if I get into a long here, that's where I'm going to be targeting. I'm going to switch over to gold real quick. Gold was interesting because gold looked like it was going to, if you look at it daily on gold, looked like it was ready to break out before today's price action. Right, we had this consolidation for a little while. We had two pretty strong up days. We closed over the high of this heavy sell side daily candle. And then today we gave up that whole move, right? We traded right back into it, right back down to that 2,700 area. So kind of iffy on gold right now, right? Do we consolidate again? Is this just another opportunity to sell off? There was some decent buying in that in Wednesday's candle, but kind of indecisive on a higher time frame about where we're going in these markets. On the 30-minute, we are sitting at that 200 moving average, and it looks pretty strong, right? It looks like it can reclaim that 200 moving average and kind of push back up to the highs of the day today. If I look at the 30-minute opening range in gold here, VWAP is clearly leaving this range. So any pullbacks may be opportunities to buy here, 2709, 2705 area. I'll be looking at for potential buys there. Let's see. Sivan says, I'm looking at gold 2719, which was the previous higher low that was broken. Any thoughts? Let's look at 2719 in gold. Yeah, that looks like a good target. Couple of reasons why I would consider that a good target here. We have this heavy downward candle on the 30-minute here. If we look at this, 50% of that candle is right around that 2719, 2718, and that's the way I'm going to look at any market. What happens around equilibrium of this candle, the 50% mark, we already see prices accepting inside of it. So yeah, if I could get along somewhere around 2709, around that VWAP, that would be my first target on this, and then ultimate target would be the highs of the candle, which are around 2728. All right. I'm going to look at the four major markets that we talk about, right? So NASDAQ, gold. I know Dakota looks at the Nikkei. I don't trade it too much, even though I did take a trade in the combine, but I'm probably not going to place any Nikkei trades in this XFA until we get the balance a little higher than it is right now. But we can take a look at that as well. And if you guys have any questions, Andrew's sending them over to me so I can answer those as well. Butter says, hi, Coach Jay. Do you vary how you pick initial balance? Like today, do you use the lows and highs at the news events? So initial balance is always going to be the first hour of trade in any market. So when you talk about initial balance, if I hear the words initial balance, I'm thinking the first hour of trade for the market. What you're kind of referencing here is, do I anchor to the news events, right? That's a different story, and I think that for me, that's looking more at a high volume event, right, where the news is a high volume event, but I still don't consider that the open of the market or the initial balance, right? If I look at the Nasdaq here, we'll take these moving averages off. This is the first 30 minutes, right? This is that news candle, and then the initial balance would be, we'll make it a different color, but the initial balance would be this purple box here. Right. And the reason I don't want to confuse the two is because if you say, hey, I started my initial balance off of the news candle, and then you hear Hoag on Topstep TV talk about the initial balance at a different range, he's talking specifically about the first hour of trade in those markets. So just keep that in mind. We can kind of see that initial balance high is where we gapped up and opened up from. That price is 21,720, right? The high of this purple box here, which is an interesting area. Can you give a quick resume of your 30-minute VWAP strat? Yeah, I mean, we're going to look at it for every market that we look at. Basically, what I'm doing is framing out the first 30 minutes. We have VWAP, and I'm looking for VWAP to leave that range. And I don't care which direction, right? I might have a directional bias coming into the markets, but let's say I wanted to sell the NASDAQ and this VWAP is leaving the range to the upside. I got to throw that bias out the window, right? Because I ultimately don't get to control the markets. And I just want to, my job as a day trader is to be a great follower and one, identify where the market is going, and then two, find a spot to get in where I can limit risk for myself. So right now that VWAP has not left the range in the NASDAQ, and that's why I'm not buying it. In gold, different example in gold, VWAP did leave the range. If I was trading gold at the time, I think I was making dinner around this time. So I wasn't trading it, but this is a clearer buy signal than what we see in the NASDAQ. And any concerns of the gap fill on the NASDAQ? There's a potential for a gap fill. We'll see it though. I don't know that if we have a gap, I go into the session looking for a gap fill unless the price action tells me that it is going to go fill that gap. You keep it in the back of your mind, but I'm not going to short just because there's a gap below us and I think we need to fill it. If the market doesn't think that, then I'm not going to take that trade. 8 Mile says, do you trade silver? I'll trade anything that presents a good opportunity like this setup that we're looking at here. Silver was a great example of it last night. If you guys, and silver's an expensive contract, so just keep that in mind. But look at silver last night on that same setup, right? 30-minute opening range. VWAP left the range in that first 30-minute opening candle. And this here is, and we don't go with the expectation of catching the whole move, but this is like a $3,500 move in silver. It's $25 a contract, kind of like the Nikkei, pretty expensive. You can trade micros. SIL is the micro silver, and it's a fifth of the contract, so $5 a tick, which is a little more feasible with a Topstep account. Someone said Nikkei short is playing. I should have just stayed in it. Where did I get short? See, the Nikkei is giving us kind of that example as well, right? Where we tried to leave the range to the upside, it didn't. We left to the low side. VWAP is leaving the range as well. This is a really nice trend. Now, where would I be targeting in the Nikkei? This would probably be the ultimate target for that short, right around 50% of this high volume candle here. But really nice trade if you're in this one already. Are you looking to short nat gas? I haven't looked at it yet. Normally I'll do some chart prep before we get on here. I do have some charts on other screens that I'm looking at on the sides to see if there are any markets presenting this trade. And I'm not really seeing one that I could take advantage of right now. Yeah, I'm not really seeing one that I could take advantage of right now. And this chart should be nat gas. Let's see what nat gas is doing. Nat gas has been a great trade. To me, it's been a better market to trade than crude because it's bigger ranges. It's consistently in the top percentage movers on the day. If you can catch a move in nat gas today, there was a great one. I should have had a great winning day today in nat gas, but Like I said, got into the trade a little bit early and missed a lot of that move. On the Nikkei, how did I choose my entry? My entry on the Nikkei was based on breaking out of this range, where we failed to move upwards, right? We failed to move higher here, and on the break of the range on the low side, I just took a short because we tried to push up. We hit this view up, which was from yesterday, and there were not enough buyers to reclaim that. And if you're a buyer and you're not getting the price action that you want, you become a seller, and I think that's why we're getting the short here. So when we got back through the low of the range, I went ahead and took the short. Is there a video on your strategy? The strategy that I'm talking about right now, I think the best explanation I've done of it was slow markets on October 3rd, where I took over for Dakota again, and we had a bunch of examples of trades. And I think we actually put on a trade in the NASDAQ. So this strategy, I would say, watch that video. It's slow markets from October 3rd, and it's a pretty good explanation of it. Do you use stop or limit orders, or do you buy sell at the market? I usually use limit orders. I'm usually joining the bid or the offer in order to get in. Um, there aren't many times where I'll market order. You can though. Coach Paul makes fun of me all the time when I say I missed a trade. It's like, hey, does your market button not work? Depending on the market that you're trading, market orders are probably fine, unless you're trading like a 10 tick spread in the Nikkei. You probably don't want to market order there because you're gonna hit a bad fill and already be down. Audio Fierce says, first time of hearing the initial balance. How do you plan your trades using an initial balance? I don't personally. I may use it as a level of reference if I'm already in a trade, and I've learned that from Hoag. So if you have any questions about initial balance, I would definitely ask Hoag. All right, let's take a look at these markets. I am looking at that gold, and I may want to get into gold here. So just give me a second. The only thing I don't love about this gold trade is we're rejecting at this 200 moving average. All right, we're kind of under it right now. So I'm getting mixed signals here right now on gold. On a shorter time frame, this is a buy. On a higher time frame, maybe not so much. Let me measure the risk on this trade if I was to take it. So if I was to get in long here, might have to take this with micros. Yeah, I might have to trade this with micros. Give me 1 second here, guys. Just setting up a trade idea, but I do like this. But I'm not willing to risk the risk on a minis of making a new low here, especially being at this 200 moving average. If this 20 moving average was sloping to the upside, I'd be a lot more convinced to take this trade. But after today's sell-off, I'm thinking, do we just get a continuation? So just thinking through this one here. Give me 1 second. Let me measure this risk. 80s. Okay. I'm taking it with 1 micro. I'm just going to get in right here. I'm going to get in 1 micro, nothing big. Actually, okay with 2. That'll be about $150 worth of risk. $160 worth of risk if we make a new low. And my target is going to be the high of that candle. So in 2 micro gold, 27.11. My target is 27.28. It's about a 2-to-1 trade. I am taking this in an XFA. Again, if we were to get a test of this opening range, I'd probably take this with a mini because my risk is going to be pretty tight on it. It's going to be make a new low below this opening range, but because of kind of where we are, higher time frame may not be agreeing as much. I'm going to take it with smaller size. Points, how many points am I looking for? Let's change this to points. I am looking for 16 points. 16 points, risking 8. All right, so I'll go ahead and leave that one on. and we'll see what happens, right? I'm okay with the risk. I like where the market is for now, and going to leave it. What's that indicator name, fibs, and anchored VWAP on Topstep X? So the fib retracement is just a drawing tool. It's up here on the left side. I just have mine set to 0, 0.5, and 1 because I don't care about the other intermediate levels. I know people do use fibs. I don't use them that way. I just want to know where half back is on a specific candle. And go from there. Archie asks, "Do I use the 3 minute to enter?" We can see here, I didn't use a 3 minute, right? I could have gone down to a shorter time frame, but my entry was based on VWAP, and that's going to be pretty much the same on every chart. How do you feel about CL for tonight? Let's see. I'll move over to crude real quick because we haven't covered it yet. But crude is a tough one. See up here. Let me zoom out in crude. Let's go to a daily chart. Look at crude on the daily, right? If you're a range bound trader, this is exactly what you want to see, where maybe you're shorting at the highs of this range, buying at the lows. But I'm more of a trend momentum trader, and this is just a difficult market to find a trend in right now. So if I was looking at crude to take a trade, I want to be short at the highs of this range. But then there's also a 75 tick buffer between where we are right now and where you could consider the high of the range, right? So if I was going to trade crude, where do I establish my risk, right? Because it's a range bound market. There's 75 ticks available for a potential entry. Um, but if I was to take this with minis, I'm going to switch over. I don't know what this trade is, but I should have took this into my XFA. Hold on one second. I'm just going to use the practice account to measure the risk. But let me see what position I'm in. Short one Nikkei, up $1,200. Gotta love that market. I'm gonna close that. All right, but if I was to take a crude short here, because that's the only trade that I would want to take, I don't see crude pushing the highs of this range. Personally, if I was to take a crude short and then need to give it the room that it needs to work, I'm risking about $800 towards the high of that range, which is kind of expensive. It could be a pretty nice move to the downside because if crude does sell off, I think I see it going back down to the lows of this range. So there's anywhere from a point to a point and a half in crude available. I'm just I've been looking at other markets. I've been seeing the Nasdaq, sorry, not the Nasdaq, Nat Gas present better opportunities. Um, so not looking at crude too much right now. How do you set up anchored VWAP? It's in the drawing tools on the left side, 5 down. You have forecasting and measurement tools. Just use anchored VWAP, put a star next to it if you're going to use it all the time, and then you just click it and click on a candle. Let's see how gold is looking good. Gold is looking good. Let's see. Going through you guys' questions. What do you trade at night? Enzo, trading gold. I'll trade any market that presents an opportunity. Where would you consider going long for the Nikkei? Somewhere near the lows of this candle, right? We see how much volume traded here last night. That was significant. We can see right now we traded down to the target. So somewhere near these lows feels like it gives me a cheap opportunity to limit risk. But I don't know that I would be looking to long the Nikkei. We're below the 200 moving average, some heavy momentum. I would need to see this market show a sign of turning around before I get in long. Um, how do you draw gray zones? I'll show my fib settings real quick. Again, this is just the fib retracement tool. You can copy my settings here. Just pause the video if you want to copy these settings. But the 0 level is gray, 0.5 level is green, the 1 level is gray. And then that gives you that box. Can you explain again where you set your risk on the gold trade? Yeah, no problem. So I'm in micro gold right now. What was this trade based on? We had the 30-minute opening range from the session open, right? Once trading opens up, here's that 30-minute opening range. I attached, so this is why I got into the trade, right? I attached VWAP there. That VWAP is holding as a support. So this is where I'm getting into the trade. Obviously, you can see I got in a little bit late. That's okay. And we just seen that volume that came in at 9 o'clock. And my risk is just making a new low, right? So making a new low below this opening range. A lot of times, what we'll see is the market come back and test it and then bounce. So that's it from there. I did just pass my Series 3. I'm seeing a lot of liquidity, a lot of orders up here. 2714. There was 250 lots there in gold. I don't love that for this long position because that's a lot of orders to get through. But I established the risk. I'm going to leave this on. I'm actually thinking about a potential to add to this trade if this range holds and we get a pullback there, but I'm going to leave it on for now. Why the 20 EMA or not the 8 or 9? I learned those moving averages, and those are not EMAs, those are SMAs. I learned those from Coach Paul. He's been using them for years, and I've been working with him every day for a year. I've seen how he used them, and I just adapted them. I didn't use moving averages before that, but I'll use them uh, for now. When you're close to passing a 50K combine, do you scale up or down to pass it? Ideally, you want to keep it the same, right? Ideally, you want to keep it the same. Uh, when you pass a 50K combine and you get into an XFA, you are, you're able to trade 2 minis max. Yeah, there's a ton of size getting filled in gold here. Um, so ideally, you don't want to go to a 5 lot just to pass and then have to make that adjustment again when you get back to an XFA. So keep your size the same. What's my target for gold? So I'm looking at this candle here, which was some heavy volume to the downside. My initial target, conservative target, was 50% of the candle, which is at 27.18. Ultimate target was the other side, 27.28. So we'll see. Right now, I had a position that was in the profit, and we're a little bit negative now, but risking $150 on this trade, which is okay. Uh, when is the best time to trade lean hogs? Uh, in the morning, right? When the equities open, that's when the hogs market opens as well. So that is when you're going to be wanting to trade those. Goldfinger says, "What makes you decide whether to take a trade in your combine versus XFA versus live?" So I don't have a live account with Topstep, but I do have a personal futures account that I trade. Um, it's all a feel. It's all a feeling thing, right? We're the way I look at traders, we're performance athletes, right? And if I don't feel like I'm in the best mental state to perform, then I'm going to trade in a combine. Um, and I'm not going to put real money at risk. But if I feel good and market conditions look good, then in order for us to get paid from the markets, we need to put some skin in the game, right? So uh, if I'm in that mindset, then I'm going to take the trades in an account where I can pull some money out of. All right, but let's see what happens with this gold. This may turn into a loser, but the risk was established before I put the trade on, and I'm okay with it. Do you trade Nasdaq because it could be selling off for a gap fill? Let's see. I do trade the Nasdaq, and it could be selling off for a gap fill. You're right. I don't have a trade signal yet here. The trade signal would have been up here, where VWAP didn't leave the range, and price did. So there's a potential to fade. But if you're in the short in the Nasdaq, nice trade. Psychology topic, please. Rosalie, if you have a specific psychology question, let me know. I can answer it. If you scale up during a trade, how do you take part profit to exit and leave a runner? I just try to find levels that make sense to take profits, right? If I add to this, or let's say I get a pullback and I add around this low, this opening range here, I'm just going to try to find areas that make sense, either based on market structure or a target that I have as scale out points. Rosalie says, I lost my two funded from Top Step, lack of patience. Uh, so that's going to be different for everyone, right? If you have a lack of patience, try to identify why you're rushing, right? And what I'll say is, whatever reason most people give for why they want to be traders or, why they see the opportunity in the markets, think about it this way. Let's say you want to quit your job, right? With trading. That's not something that's going to happen in one day, and it's probably not something that you want to happen in one day, um, because you want it to be sustainable over a long period of time. Now, if I am able to make a ton of money, let's say I made $1 million today in trading, and I'm able to quit my job, and then tomorrow I'm scared to take a trade, and for the next year and a half, I'm scared to take a trade. Or if I take a trade, I'm losing every single time because I'm scared of operating in the markets. Um, that's an issue, right? So a lot of times we're trying to rush because we're imagining like, oh, if I get to this point, then I can, you know, quit my job, I can go on vacation, I can pay this bill, I can do this and that. But the goal really should be, how do you do that sustainably? Because let's say you do have a great 3 months in trading, and then you go quit your job, and then the next 9 months aren't so great, right? Now you're putting uh, a lot of weight on something that may not be sustainable. Uh, and I feel like that's what leads a lot of people to rushing. So just slow down. Just slow down. Understand the markets are always going to be here. We could be talking about the futures markets 50 years from now. There might be different contracts and things like that, but there's so much money in financial markets that they're not going anywhere. And a lot of times we're in a rush to try to get to something. I would love to know your thoughts on why you trade a personal account versus a Top Step Live account. My goal is to have a Top Step Live account in 2025. And like I said yesterday on Slow Markets, I think everybody should want to be in a Top Step Live account in 2025. There are some changes coming to the program. I can't say what they are because I don't even know what they are. But that is my goal. I think there's a ton of benefit to it. Uh, Even if I have my own personal futures account, I'm going to want a Top Step account in 2025. So that is my goal. And I'll trade both. I'll trade both. My personal account, I do have the option to trade options there as well. I've heard that be a mention in the Top Step Live accounts potentially, uh, which is great. But my goal is to have both. Why does Jay talk very fast? I'll talk slower. Is there another entry here on MGC? For me, I'm not going to add to this trade until we get a test of this lower range here. And again, I might get stopped out on this trade, which is fine. I think I'm risking 160 bucks. Uh, you let it hit stop loss, or you manage if it closes under VWAP. So I'm looking at a 30-minute chart, and we have 20 minutes left in this 30-minute candle. Right now, what I'm looking for, I want to add, but I'm going to add on a test of this high, 2706. I'm actually just going to put the order in right now. Right. Uh, what moving averages are you using? The 20, the 50, and the 200. Just curious, what was the only thing that was holding you back when you were a beginner trader, if there was one? Impatience for sure. And then for me, and Coach Robert mentioned this for himself the other day, an ego also, right? Where it's like, I don't have to learn from anybody. I know what I'm doing. My first year of trading went really well, had some beginner's luck, and thought I didn't need to learn anything, and then learned quickly that I needed to learn a lot. Um, Losing money will do that to you. So just learning that you have to learn this game from someone, and it's not a technical thing, right? Everyone's going to have a different technical way to approach the markets. um, Learning how to manage an account was really important. um, and a lot of people don't teach that, but it's, hey, this is all you need to take a trade, this is all you need to do this. Okay, it's like, okay, great, but once I make that trade, how am I uh, managing the account from there? How am I managing the position? How am I managing myself, my own ego, my own personality, and things like that. Uh, Tyler says that would be sick if you guys added options. Yeah, they're going to be options on futures if that is an option. I don't know that it would come to the platform because that's a different technical thing. But listen to Topstep TV. MP has mentioned it. He's like, we want to we want to add incentives for having a live account, and whatever is available from the FCM, where the live accounts are under, that can be an option, right? It might mean calling a trade desk and saying, "Hey, I want to put on an options position in the Nasdaq to, do X, Y, and Z." Uh, but that could be an option for a live account, which would be pretty awesome. Jay is from New York. That's why he talks fast. See, Smoke, you know. How much do I need to risk for a 50K account? Uh, that depends on your trading style. That depends on your trading strategy. The one thing I would say, and you know, shout out to my partner, Coach Paul, uh, risk on a daily basis no more than 12% of your account. And we'll do some quick math here. The maximum drawdown on a 50K account is 2 grand. 12% of that is 240 bucks. Now that's going to sound like a little bit. Uh, that's going to sound like a little bit, but it's not. It's giving yourself multiple opportunities to uh, interact with the markets, right? That means you have to trade micros. That means you might be having to trade, one or two micros, taking few trades a day. But I would say don't risk more than $240 a day to start a 50K account. And then if you start to lose, then you scale that back, right? Let's say I lose $200 the first day, then I can't risk more than 200 on the next day, and scale that back as your account fluctuates. Enzo's from New York, and I talk too slow. How did you and Coach Paul connect? Just here at Topstep. Here at Topstep, I became a coach in June. I think he was a coach. He became a coach in May, and then I kind of worked different projects with each one of the coaches. Coach Ray and I did a session early on when we first joined. I kind of helped Dakota on board as a coach here, and then Coach Paul and I, when we moved over to the Discord, was just like, "Hey, let's do this class together," and that's it from there. But great guy to work with, a ton of market experience. He has, more market experience than I have life experience. So anytime he gets to talk, I'm gonna sit there and listen. Look at NQ. Is it selling off? Here we go. Potential gap fill here, right? What would the gap fill be? Down to 684. It's a nice trade. Anybody in that Nasdaq trade right now? Anyone in the Nasdaq right now? How did you discover trading futures or trading in general? So just interest in the markets came from my parents, just kind of talking about them buying stock in certain companies and things like that. And then trading after college, just looking for somewhere else to put money. Got a couple people short in the Nasdaq right now. Really nice. Richard Harris, how come those bar colors? Is it a favorite team color or something? So my trading mentor, the guy I actually learned how to trade from, this guy named Rich Lepis. He's no longer with us, but guy from Long Island as well. And he would always say that his goal was to buy the Mets um, from trading. He's a great trader. I don't know how close he was to buying the Mets, but shout out to you, Rich. But these were his candle colors also. Kind of just adopted that. And I really don't like the color red. So I try to change as much red on my screens as possible. A couple of people short the Nasdaq. Really nice trade. Made 2,400. Get mad FX. Really nice. Thoughts on platinum? QGTM. QGTM for sure. Uh, thoughts on platinum? Kind of range bound right now. If we can see if what I'm looking at for if I was looking to take a trade right now, we have the 30-minute range here, and VWAP is kind of in the middle of that. Platinum has, let's see, actually, let's go out to a daily. It's look like a decent spot, kind of a support area down here on the daily. Yeah, this actually doesn't look like a bad spot to buy platinum. Bankroll says I'm going to bed. Good night, Bankroll. 3,400 going to bed. That's you can sleep well on that 3,400. Wouldn't it make sense to go long here at the bottom of the range and the Nasdaq VWAP hasn't moved? Yeah. I mean, that's a potential trade. I really don't love taking range bound trades, but that would be the trade. Ideally, what I would want is, something like this, right? Up at the highs where they closed the candle outside of the range and then it failed, because that just improves the risk to reward on the trade. But yeah, that would be a pretty good idea, right? We pushed out of the range by 10 points and we pop back into it. But at any point, some sellers can come in and flush this gap that we have here and close it. Is gold normally this volatile? Yeah. I mean, we usually see gold move. That's crude. Usually, see gold make some decent moves at night. Let's look at last night. Last night's session, we had some decent price action. Um, I mean, and you say volatile. Look at the last 2 weeks in gold. Right, last 2 weeks in gold were a mess. I don't think I placed one gold trade in this entire consolidation. But now we look like we're starting to break out of it. Maybe starting to trend a little bit. Uh, yeah, it's a great market to trade. What was your largest winning day? For me, 15K. 15K was actually an options trade. Um, you sent a message about runners in Discord. I'll take a look. Uh, I'm running into an issue where I take a trade and I'm 10 micros in. I'm up $200, so I take out 5 micros to leave the rest. I leave the rest, then I sell them, but my P&L comes out to 170. Why is this? How do I fix this? Uh, are you closing the rest of the position higher than your initial exit? That really shouldn't happen, right? If you close, so let's say you're up 200, you sell 5, you locked in 100, then you should be, if the position keeps going up, then you should make more, right? So unless you're selling the rest of that position lower than where the market's trading, I don't see why you would be losing anything. Am I usually on slow markets? I'm usually on Wednesday with Dakota, but he's out today, so I am filling in for him today. Charts are frozen. My charts aren't frozen. My charts seem to be moving just fine. Uh, I wish they were moving in the other direction, right? I wish gold was going up instead of coming down, but uh, charts seem to be fine to me. And Coach Hoop just said it could be commissions if he's trading in, if he's not trading in Topstep X. That could be, it could be commissions as well, right? That could be it. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna get a drink of water. Nodar says, "How old am I? I'm not 30, but I'm not 40." Pre-market prep. So my pre-market prep pretty much goes exactly like this. Coming into the session open, for any markets that I am looking to trade, I have the 30-minute range marked out, right? So I'll have going into tomorrow in gold, I'll have this 30-minute range marked out. I'll know where VWAP is, and then I'm just looking at the market in relation to this range and this VWAP. Then I'll pay attention to see if there's any news coming out. I'm usually at my desk by 7 a.m. Eastern time because I'm prepping levels for the Topstep Daily Levels webpage. Um, so I'll do a little bit more analysis of the markets there, and then I'm probably not taking a trade until at least 8:15 Eastern, 8:30. Do you start a new 30-minute open at New York? I don't use a 30. I use a 3. By the time we get, and the reason I switch to a 3-minute when we get to the New York session, especially if I'm trading something like the Nasdaq, it moves a lot quicker, right? There's a lot more volume, so the potential for faster moves are going to happen. So I'm going to try to catch those. But we see today, right? Today's 3 minute range in the Nasdaq. I don't think VWAP ever left that range, right? Very choppy day, which is telling us to fade the extremes. But then look at yesterday, for example. Yesterday, I was on slow markets with Jared, and the trade I caught was on that 3 minute range, right? So 3 minute opening range here. Again, I'm going to attach VWAP to it. My entry here was at 598. Why was it at 598? Because 595 was the high of that range. And I don't always catch the lows of the move, but this volume left that range fairly early. So I want to try to get in as early as possible. Now let's see if I use the 30 minute, did it present the same trade, right? And remember, when New York session starts, there's a lot more volume. So uh, 10 o'clock, that would be the 30 minute range there. VWAP never left that range. I potentially don't even take a trade in the Nasdaq in this case, right? Maybe I take this VWAP test here, but if I use the 30 minute range, I don't have the same reason to take the trade. All right. So, but good question though. Where do you start your opening range on gold? What time? So let's go back to gold here. So this 30 minute, and again, when you see me use the opening range, if it's at night, or I shouldn't say night because we're all over the world, but if it's the Globex open, right, when trade opens again, I'm using a 30 minute range for any market that I trade. If it's a daytime session where there's more volume, I'm using a 3 minute range. So for gold, what you see here, this is 6 p.m. Eastern time. That's this range here. And then if I'm looking at the New York session open, I'm looking at 8:20 Eastern time. I hate when I do that. What did I just do? Somehow always do this and I can't remember how to fix it. Just broke the price thing. Come on. Does anyone know how to fix what I just did? Okay, there we go. That works. Double click. Oh, okay. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. I've done that way too many times. Uh, sometimes I just shut down the platform after that. It's like, okay, I'm gonna stop trading for now. But the open and double click again. There we go. Chad Pilgrim, shout out to you. Shout out to you. If I could give a free reset right now, you would be getting it. Um, in the morning, the opening range I'm looking at in gold is around 8:20 Eastern time. But we got to remember that gold is a 24/7 market. There really isn't a time. So what I'll look at instead is when the volume comes into the market, right? Because sometimes we'll have news. Sometimes there might be a random spike in gold. But I'm looking at right around that 8:20 Eastern to 8:30 Eastern time to anchor a 3 minute range. Uh, is your opening range 3 minutes for all U.S. session futures? Yeah, so 3 minutes for the Nasdaq, ES, Russell, gold. Crude oil is going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time and not 9:30, right? Because crude opens a little bit earlier. But yeah, I'll use 3 minutes because that's when the most volume is going to come in. So I want to, if there's going to be a move that presents itself pretty quickly, I want to get in that as early as possible. Uh, so you guys that were short in the Nasdaq, right? Really nice trade, right? Wherever you caught this from, if you were short from the 60s, 50s area, you see how we didn't get any continuation into that gap, and that VWAP stayed in the range. Um, this is why I wasn't taking a short at the lows, right? Because of this potential bounce. If VWAP was following price lower, then I'd be more inclined to get into a short, but it didn't, right? So the way I'm reading this is price went, but there's no volume picking a direction right now. So I'm going to stay out of the trade. Caught a quick long in the Nasdaq. Nice. How come you only have 10 levels on gold? I think that's all the data provides, at least on TopstepX. I know on Quantower I have more levels, but wherever our data feed is coming from on gold, I think it only gives us 10 up and 10 down. How do you manage to stay in a trade for a long time? I feel too scared when in a trade and close it quickly. How do I deal with fear? Cam, good question. It's something that we all deal with. Uh, Maybe trade smaller, right? Maybe trade smaller and accept the risk before you put a trade on, right? I could technically, I'm okay with losing $160 on this trade. I could go to sleep and not look at this chart until 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. The worst that's going to happen is I might lose $200 on bad slippage. What is there to fear? Because I've already accepted that I'm going to lose $160. So there's nothing for me to fear if I already accept it. Now, the problem happens when we say, accept how much you're going to lose. And we try to go with a number that somebody said was a good suggestion, right? Somebody says, oh, don't lose more than 12% on a day. And then you might do that calculation and 12% could end up being $600. And you're like, there's no way in hell I want to lose $600 for the day. Find a number that you're comfortable saying, whatever happens in these markets, if I lose it, that's okay. I'm just paying for information and then go from there. And then there's no reason to fear anything, right? This market could drop 1,000 points. I'm going to lose anywhere from 160 to 200. I shouldn't fear anything. All right. Is it 12% or 12.5%? It's 12%. Coach Paul's suggestion is 12%. Is anchored VWAP different from the other VWAP? Not to start, right? Let's look. If I put VWAP on here, it's going to be a blue line, and you can see right now you can't see it because, well, now you can because I removed the drawings. But initially, it's going to start at the market open, which is going to be the same. The reason I use anchored VWAP is because as the session goes on, I'm probably going to be adding more anchored VWAPs, right? There might be a high volume event that I anchor a VWAP to. And I'm actually seeing on a 3-minute exactly where we're rejecting right now. And it's the highest volume candle that we've had so far. And look at 50% of it. It's acting as a resistance. So I don't love this for my trade. I don't love this for my trade because somebody came in and sold a ton of contracts here and they're keeping price down. Could I just cut this? I could, but I'm going to let this one work. Uh, Richard Harris, I just want to let you know I commanded gold to go back to 27.15. Richard, I appreciate that. Let's get to 27.50. If you can do that for me, I appreciate it. Uh, let's see. Am I in a buy or a sell? I'm long. I'm long gold right now. I'm trying to add a contract down here, 27.06, but I am long micro gold right now. John Bertone, what's going on? Daniel, I answered that question. Any lessons about volume and how to use it? Volume could be its own class in its own. I'm not going to spend too much time on volume analysis here. The one thing I would say is, right, quickest volume lesson I could give is find an anomaly in volume and then see how the market responds to that anomaly. What do I mean by that? This spike of volume right here, well, we're not going to use that one because that's the close, that's the equity close. Let's just find something that doesn't look like the others. Okay, so this right here, we don't see what price is doing right now, but what I'm telling you is that this volume spike is not like anything around it, right? There's another 40 candles, 50 candles that aren't as much volume as this. So I'm going to frame out this candle here and I want to see how the market responds to this price. This one, I know exactly what this is. This is the Asian session open, so we're going to ignore that. We're just going to go to this one, which was at 1:12 Eastern time last night. 1:12 Eastern time last night. This is the candle that made this low, right? On high volume. So now what I want to see is how does the market respond to that price? For me, easiest way to find out, attach VWAP to it. This candle makes the low. This is exhaustion. And VWAP left that range. This is an area that I want to be buying. If I was to take this long, and this is a trade that I will take sometimes, right, where we see this exhaustion move into a higher time frame demand level, I may take this as a long, right, and risk another swing low based on this volume. Conservative price target is going to be above where, or conservative price target is the high of where that volume came in. Why? Uh, there were sellers in this candle that created this price action. If they come in and keep selling, then I don't want to fight them. But if we get candle closes outside of that high volume, then I want to be a buyer, right? Because if there was a seller in this candle, and there are going to be sellers and buyers in this candle, right? But let's say there was an initiative seller in this candle where they said, hey, I want to go short here. When they go short, if you got a short here and price did this, what are you doing eventually? You're a buyer, right? So when they start to buy, I want to take part of that price action, right? So the way I look at volume, find an anomaly, right? You're going to see high volume candles on the session opens, and that's why I'll always mark those out as well. But here we go. The Asian session open from last night, same thing, high volume, anchor VWAP, volume leaves the range, VWAP leaves the range, I should be short. All right. Can we long crude? You can do whatever you want. I personally don't want to long crude, and I don't see a signal to. But if you see a trade, take it. Um, let's see what else we got. What are your profit targets in crude and gold? What did I say? 18 and then 28. 18 and then 28. Because of your afternoon streams, I discovered Topstep months ago. Coin. I see you in our chat sometimes. Coin. Shout out to you. Welcome to Topstep a couple months ago. Glad that you're here. Enoch, I am active duty army. What time frames do you suggest for me to trade? What time? What is your schedule like? What is your schedule like? Let me know. But the markets are open 23 hours a day, right? So you can find some time. And we got to remember too. Sometimes I feel like there's the idea that I have to be at the charts all the time. You really don't. You really don't. And it's probably better not to. Coach Paul says it all the time: trade less, make more. Um, you know, you could find a trade setup, put a trade on, and just let it go. Gold gold is obeying Richard Harris commands. Richard, I need more than 27.15. I need 27.28 if you can, at least. Do you think Soundhound will break the VWAP? I don't know. I don't even know what Soundhound is. When will you be done for the year trading? That's a good question. I think so. I have like just a quick weekend trip that I'm going on next week, maybe next week. I haven't looked at the calendar actually. Hmm. That's a good question. I don't know that I'll be done for the year because I may take a day off or two for the holidays. Uh, Andrew said December 31st. Damn it, that's when I'll be done trading for the year. December 31st. I like that answer. December 31st. Um, yeah, I mean, am I going to be as aggressive holiday week and things like that? No, but when holidays are a day or two. But outside of that, I'll continue to trade. And gold just does not want to. Somebody did say there was a seller up here in gold. I think they're just holding price down right now. Let me check the. Yeah, somebody does not want gold to go higher. Richard, talk to your friends out there. See what you can do. Your schedule is 8 to 5. Okay, I mean you could trade this time. You could trade slow markets, right? Tune into Dakota. He created his schedule around this time, and yeah, I'm gonna get stopped out in gold. Someone did not like anything up there. Let's see if they get any follow through, but I'm pretty sure that rejection happened right at that 200 moving average on the 30-minute. And you guys remember when we started this, right? I was talking about that moving average and said, come on, go back up there. Okay. We were talking about this 200 moving average, this white line on the 30-minute chart, and that potentially that's the reason why I got in micros and not minis in this trade because of this rejection that we're seeing here. Um, Somebody's coming in and continuing to sell it there, and maybe they step out of the way, but right now they're holding price lower. So if you were trading from 8 a.m. or if you're working from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., I'm assuming that's Eastern time, but correct me if I'm wrong. Um, I would look at potentially trading slow markets time, right? Dakota talks a lot about how you can put on set and forget trades. Maybe in order to get comfortable with those, you want to start them in a practice account or trading with micros, so it's not going to cost you a whole lot because you're going to have to get used to, putting on a position and maybe not looking at it for a couple of hours or being able to sleep and things like that. But I think this is a good time. What time do you meet with your group on Discord? It's usually 11 p.m. Oh, sorry, 11 a.m. Eastern time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I try to, kind of fit my schedule around their schedule, see what time works for most people, and then go from there. And Richard, I know you said you don't trade gold often. Yeah, this is some weird price action, right? I'm even sitting here thinking, do I really want to be in this trade anymore? Uh, or do I even have to risk the whole $160? We're kind of just chopping around this view up right now. I'm gonna leave it on, but I'm liking this trade less and less. I might get off the stream and take this one off if we're still sitting around here, but I'm gonna leave it for now. Do you trade full time? Brandon, that's a good question. I do make income from trading, but I also will always have multiple streams of income. Um, Talk to Coach Paul, who's been doing this for 40 years. After we got off at the buzzer today, we had a conversation with a trader talking about, wanting to do trading full time and leave your job and things like that. It's a tough thing to do. And when I first came on as a coach at Topstep, Hoag reminded me as well. He's been doing this again for longer than I've been alive. He said it himself. He doesn't know many traders where trading is their sole source of income. So it's all a piece of the puzzle, right? And that's the way that I look at it. It's all a piece of the puzzle. There was a time where I'm just like, hey, I'm just going to trade full time, but then I realized that that didn't feel comfortable to me. Some other people might, right? Some other people might be able to say, hey, yeah, I'm only going to trade, and more power to them. And if you can figure out a way to do that, great. But I don't know many people that trading is their only source. But yeah, if full time means do I trade every day? I trade every day. Why aren't there many full time traders? Think about it. You have to eat what you kill, right? And if you're not trading well, if things aren't going well, that's very tough, right? It's great when things are going well, but when things are not, and you have pressure to pay bills, if you have kids or anything like that, that's a lot of pressure, right? So if you could find a way to supplement the income, or if trading is supplementing your income, or if you have another job that kind of balances it out, it just makes it a little bit easier to accept losing, right? Imagine not being able to take a loss, right? I don't think you want to trade from a position where you're saying I have no option. Like every trade that I take has to work. You don't get to control that, right? So that's a very interesting place to be in. Very, very stressful. And not to say that you have to treat it as a hobby because it's not your full time income, but you just put it in its own bucket, right? This is what I can expect from my trading at this time. But then if I have this as well, then it all kind of goes together. Uh, Tig, do you do anything else outside of coaching? Yeah, I'm a IT consultant outside of this. An IT consultant outside of this, and that job allows me some of the freedom to trade, right, and to coach. Where you put systems in place, allow those systems to work, and if there are changes required to the systems or things break, then you work from there as well. This gold trade, it's gonna it's gonna make me take the trade off, and then it's gonna do exactly what I want. So I'm just gonna leave it on. Any other markets you guys see moving? I know we had the Nasdaq a little bit earlier. If they're trade reports, we can do that. If you guys want to send some trade reports over, I can review those. Or we can just go a little bit earlier. I know we got 18 minutes left. I don't see a ton of movement in these markets right now. So if we all want to go early, get to bed a little early, that is cool. Um, let's see. I'll do one last scan to see if there are markets moving. The Nikkei looks like it may have bounced. Let's see if the Nikkei bounced off that level we were talking about. All right, this 30-minute candle here didn't exactly get to the lows, but 50% of it is kind of holding now. This doesn't look like a bad long in the Nikkei. Let's see what else we got on the quote board really moving. I don't see a whole lot. Not seeing a whole lot. This is micro Bitcoin. This is potentially looking like a decent short, right? If we can get a retest of this VWAP, again, I would risk the highs, maybe a little bit higher because it's micro Bitcoin, but maybe this is a potential short. Damn it. Every time I think it's a good trade, this 200 moving average is in the way, right? I'd really love to see the market sell under this. We'll see. How do you determine the clarity and precision of your trade setups? Do you have variations in setups to indicate strength or likelihood of success? How should a beginner find their best setup? So this is a great question. Coach Ray and I did a session with a group yesterday where we talked about having a plan and an elevator pitch for your trade setups. And basically, what that means is, can you explain exactly what you look for to take a trade in the time it takes to ride an elevator from the first floor to the 10th floor? Um, so it should be a couple of steps and it should be really quick. The A plus version of a trade is the 3 or 4 check marks presenting themselves to you in a certain amount of time for you to take a trade. Now, how do you determine the clarity and precision, right? Let's look at what was the market that did it today. Let's look at gold right now. So let's say that the criteria for the trade is I need a 30-minute opening range established. I need price leaving the range. I need VWAP leaving the range, and I need a test and rejection of the range to be an A plus, right? So ideally, A plus setup would be test this range and bounce from there, because the way I'm setting this trade up, I'm getting a better entry than VWAP. We'll go back to where my entry was. Right, this trade here where I have my limit buy, that would be A plus for this setup. Where I took my trade, still had some of the criteria, but I had 3 of the 4. That's a B, right? This is a B setup. This isn't an A setup, and you can see I took it with smaller size because there's always the potential for an A plus, which is a retest of this zone, right? So that's how I'm going to look at it, and I'll go from there. There was another market. Oh, the Nasdaq, right? Let's go to the Nasdaq. Let's say I looked for that same trade setup on the Nasdaq. Let's say I wanted to take a long here. Same trade setup. I have one criteria checked off, 30-minute opening range. Second criteria, price closing outside the range. This, what letter grade can I give this trade? I can't give it an A because VWAP hasn't left the range, right? So this is a B at best, maybe a C, right? So if I know that going into it, and I think a really good way to think about your trading playbook or your setups, know exactly what it looks like when it works, and then know the market conditions where those trades are not going to work. Because then when you get presented with either one of those, then you can just react, and you don't have to think, right? We didn't have full criteria for this. So if I'm going to take this, like I said, this is a B at best. And look what happens. The market sells off. I didn't have all the criteria checked off. So for a beginner, I would say try to narrow down a trade execution to 4 steps, right? 4 steps max. Try to narrow it down to that. And that is your A plus. Now, if you don't have one of those criteria, and you might give more weight to some of the criteria than the other, right? I could say that this is a trade, but if I do the range off of a 30-second chart, that's probably a C setup, right? So some things might have more weight than others. In this case, the 30-minute range has the most weight. I'm not doing anything without a 30-minute range, right? So if I'm using a 1-minute range, I'm doing something completely different for this playbook. So define those criteria, see which are the most important, or maybe they're equal weighted, and then when you have all 4, that's A plus. If you have something less, then it's a lower quality. Check the currencies. I lost some money with you on your yen trade the other day. Uh, let's see what the currencies are doing. Yen looks like it's selling now. Okay, so here's the yen, right? So let's go with that same criteria that we just used. Did the yen present an opportunity for an A plus trade? Right here. This is, I wish I was looking at the end, right? And you can't catch all of them, but we had 30-minute range established, price closed outside the range, VWAP left the range, we had a test and rejection of the range, perfect short right here, right? So if I was looking at this market, this is exactly where I should be getting in to a short. Are you having a class tomorrow on Discord? I haven't done a class in Discord in a little while, but I will be doing it at the buzzer with Coach Paul tomorrow. We got about 10 minutes left. Christy said the Nikkei might be turning around. Yeah, I mean, we might be, if this candle closes above 500, we're getting a 3-bar reversal in the 30-minute, right? Uh, yeah, this may be a really good. Now, again, with the Nikkei, I'll go back to the practice account, but let's say I got long right here. I'm going to take this off a point so we know the dollar amount. Based on market structure, where should my stop in the Nikkei go? Is it the low of day, which I'm risking $900 on a one lot, or even lower than that, the low of this range, which I'm risking about $1,000? This is it could be a great trade, right? Because I see the potential at least back up to 39,850, but does it fit the account that I'm trading right now? Probably not. You wait for that 30-minute candle to close. Yeah, so if I'm framing out a 30-minute opening range, I need a 30-minute candle to close outside of it. If I'm framing out a 3-minute range, then I need a 3-minute candle to close outside of it. Price just ran into the biggest volume of the chart. Are we getting cooked on this gold trade right now? Yeah, we are. Yeah, this again, like I said, know what it looks like when your trades are going to be losers. This looks like a losing trade in gold. Now, I still have where I want to add, and I want to give my A plus a chance to add to this trade. Is this adding to a loser? Maybe, but I'm adding about $30 worth of risk, which I'm okay with. It'll be less than a $200 trade if I take a loss. But this, I'm going to be honest, does not look great. My go-to indicator is Myra volume VWAP. If I could take everything else off my charts, I need volume, I need VWAP, and that's it. Notice for a lot of these trade setups, I haven't talked about a price. I'm just talking about some type of market structure. Even in the yen, I have no idea what price the yen is trading right now. But whatever this price is a good short. Where would the target be? I'd have to zoom out. Target on the yen would be this kind of support area down here, whatever this is. So another 0.25% lower. And Andrew said it right. Nikkei is so it's $25 a tick. The Nikkei silver, it's expensive. And it can be, we see it with Dakota, right? But he says it all the time. I have a love-hate relationship with the Nikkei, and he's trading it with a live account, right? So a lot of the times when he's on here for slow markets and he's in a 10 lot, he's, you know, 1% of the volume that traded for the night. That's a lot. That's a lot. Um, oh, Christy, you were saying the Nikkei is about to sell off again. It could. I would be, if I was long the Nikkei right now, this 39,600 is the area I'm keeping my eye on, right? The high of this high volume candle. What does the market say around this price? That's what I'd be looking at. Where to look for your opening range info? October 3rd, slow markets. I would watch that video. All right. Gonna do one more quick market scan here to see. Yeah, these are slow markets for sure. I'm gonna leave that gold trade on. Silver looks like it's selling a little bit, but not a lot of movement today, guys, which happens. The currencies, right? We were looking at those earlier. May have taken one of those trades where this is presenting some of the, for that setup that we're talking about. The yen looks pretty good. Let's look at the Swiss franc maybe. No, this doesn't look great at all. Yeah, not seeing a whole lot of opportunity, and that happens, right? You don't have to take a trade. This is exactly, if I was sitting here looking at my charts, this is exactly the process that I would go through. And if I went for an hour and didn't see anything, then I'll find something in the morning. I don't have to keep sitting here and trying to make something happen that isn't going to happen. Conserve the mental capital and just try it again tomorrow. Copper is dropping. Yeah, all the metals are selling off, and I'm long gold right now. And copper is doing it with some. Okay, so see, here is a potential. This is like an A minus here in copper, and there's some room lower. Let's see what the risk would be if I shorted 2 copper right now. About $112. My target would be down there, about a 1-to-1. And we can see why I'm saying this is an A minus, right? We tested the range, rejected it. VWAP left the range. Could this be a loser? 100%. This could turn into a losing trade. But this is the setup. So if I'm saying I'm taking every time that setup presents itself, I should be taking this trade. But I already have one on, and I'm going to leave it. And we're about 5 minutes into the session. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. We're going to go ahead and end it there. Remember that there are classes for us pretty much 24/7. We have the daytime show that's always running. And, we have Deanna doing the London Open at 3:30 Eastern time, Monday through Thursday. We have Nick Fortick on Sunday with the market kickoff, which is a great segment if you haven't seen it already. And then myself and Coach Paul doing At the Buzzer after the market closes. We have Coach Ray and Coach Vince doing classes in Discord, Coach Hoop as well. Coach Hoop every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Coach Ray and Vince go every Monday through Thursday. So there's a ton of education out there. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. You can hit me up in Discord if I didn't get to it, if you want me to answer your question there. But join some of those other coaching sessions as well if you're interested in how those guys look at the markets. I learn a ton from them when I join them. And we're all here for the same purpose. Maybe not to be the greatest trader, but to help find the greatest trader and help you guys become that. So, thank you for joining. Thank you for answering the questions, Andrew. Thank you as always for sending them all to me. Shout out to Dakota. Respect to you for talking this much for an hour and a half every day. I will see you guys on Topstep TV tomorrow. I'll be on with M, one of our VIP traders, later in the afternoon. I know Dakota is going to be on for fast markets. So see you all tomorrow. Trade well, manage your risk, trade smart. Don't try to force anything that isn't there. Like JM said, hit that like button before we go. And See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.